Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson just recently went down, and it was a pretty interesting fight. Both guys looked really awkward striking at moments. Ferguson kind of looked off balance. Now, I really think that we were blessed at the shift of opponents because I think Ferguson would have had a lot of trouble with Leach. I think Nate most definitely would have had trouble with Killer Hamzat, Evil Hamzat, who we saw against Kevin Holland. Ferguson and Diaz was the perfect fight. Nate had a bit of a lead early in the first two rounds. You saw it going Nate's way. Ferguson was investing a lot in low kicks, but didn't really do a ton of damage early. Granted, that's something that comes later. You see the swelling starting to build on Nate's legs. In round three, Ferguson was beating those legs up, and it seemed like the tide was turning towards Tony. When we get to round four, Nate Diaz putting it on T-Ferg, and I'll be honest, I think T-Ferg not gassed, but seemed to wither down. He seemed like he was slowing, whereas Nate's pace stayed the same. I actually think Nate kind of uptake the pace. Round number 4 came, and Nate kind of shifted it up a little bit and started putting it on. Tony landing multiple shot combinations and actually really touching him. In the earlier rounds, he hit him with some decent strikes, some okay straights that went through, but he started hitting Tony Ferguson, and Tony's eye was leaking a ton of blood. Nate Diaz, known from the scar tissue, he didn't have a cut on his face. It kind of blew my mind. If there was a bet on does Nate Diaz get cut, I think it would be a guaranteed yes, probably for no, plus at least 800, and you would have cashed big if you would have played it because Nate Diaz didn't have a mark on him. Ferguson tried these weird elbows. They didn't land. As I said, he looked kind of off balance. Tony Ferguson seemed, as bad as it sounds, like an old fighter in there. He doesn't seem like he has that same level anymore. Nate Diaz looked like Nate Diaz does, maybe a little bit slower. I don't know, even him, he looked off balance at times. Both guys, I really feel, are past that pure athletic prime, and it shows. Tony Ferguson doesn't connect with that same violence even. Like, he can't do the same amount of damage with the elbows. The timing's off. The rhythm's not the same. He doesn't close the gap as quickly. He's easier to hit with straight shots. Diaz kind of always awkward and tricky, keeps it similar. The leg kicks are a continuous weakness, but he still somehow finds a way. The way that the fight ended is very interesting because it was a guillotine. When do guillotines really happen in high-level MMA? Not that often. Tony Ferguson, noted as a quality black belt grappler who's got nasty wrestling, leaves his neck out to be caught by Nate Diaz. Weird situation. I'm not saying it was a fix, but it's really, I think, evident that Ferguson's past the prime because Diaz was able to find that guillotine. It didn't seem like it was in. I'm not saying it was a fixed fight, but it's just a little weird at how Tony Ferguson gets guillotine choked by Diaz. If he lost the decision, I wouldn't be thinking anything. If he would have got even TKO'd. But the fact that he got guillotine choked, just odd. It's just weird. Nate Diaz's jiu-jitsu, they always say, is overrated. I hear a lot of people say it. Taps out T-Ferg, who was definitely known as the boogeyman in the weight class as far as striking, grappling, really everything went. He was known as the boogeyman. He was the Mac on the ground. He was a problem for plenty of people, and you wouldn't think that Nate guillotines him. But it happens. It's the 4th round. Punches were landing. Tony was beaten up. I think he withered a bit. He tapped out fairly quick. The thing was locked in. Regardless of how it got there, it was fully in. Diaz wins the fight and now has the ultimate power. He says, I want to go to other organizations. I want to do other things. What do those things include? Is this boxing? Because he said he wants to go to other sports. He said kickboxing too, which doesn't really make much sense to me. Jiu-jitsu, okay, I can see him doing jiu-jitsu competitions. So let's say he does boxing and jiu-jitsu. Who does he fight in boxing? If it was several months back, it would be Jake Paul. Because Jake Paul would have been the ideal situation, right? You get a lot of money. Jake wants to fight a UFC guy that can strike, but he's fighting Anderson Silva. If he goes out there and beats Anderson Silva, fighting Nate Diaz is a step down from fighting Anderson Silva. Let's be real. If Jake Paul can beat Anderson Silva in boxing, I think he definitely beats Nate Diaz. If he loses that fight, maybe that Nate Diaz fight is still on the horizon, but the hype drops a bit. Does he want to jump into the ring with a Floyd Mayweather? Who else from boxing really makes sense? Does he go to bare knuckle? I don't think they'd be able to pay him enough. Does he want to fight in Bellator? Who's there? Who do we want to see him fight in Bellator? I don't care to see him fight Patricio Pitbull or Patricky. I don't care to see him fight AJ McKee. I don't care to see him do any of these fights outside of the UFC. I care about one fight. Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz, the trilogy. It has to happen next. UFC, do whatever you have to do. I don't care. Sign the whole Nick Diaz team. Sign the whole army. We need McGregor Diaz 3 as a pay-per-view main event. I think it sells. I think it's a great fight. I'm very interested to see what happens. It makes perfect sense with both guys realistically at the tail ends and no longer legitimate threats to the title. Let's say McGregor wins. He's going to get that title shot probably if he chooses to do so. If Makhachev is champion, I say he turns down that lightweight title fight. If Oliveira's champion, I'd say he go for it. If it's Leon Edwards at welterweight, I could see him going for it. If it's Kamaru Usman, harder to sell me that you want to see that matchup because the wrestling X factor. Does he get past the Nate Diaz, though? I don't know. Conor's getting big and thick, and who knows how much he's training. Nate Diaz doesn't look super athletic, but he never did. Granted, it's never been his style. Still awkward and tricky, hard to read. Good 1-2s, regardless of if the feet seem a little bit off at times, because there was moments where he just seemed off balance. The pressure's still there. The scrap is still there. The heart is still there. The cardio is still there. Is Conor going to be chopping at the legs? For sure he's going to try, but he's not known as a ferocious leg kicker. This is not prime Jose Aldo attacking the Nate Diaz legs. This is not a Dos Anjos who attacked Diaz's legs and controlled him from the top. This would be Conor McGregor, who's known for those hands, known for the pop, the distinguished sniper straight, incredible knockout power that Nate Diaz has already survived. Conor McGregor has dropped Diaz, but he's never stopped him. In the first fight, Diaz stops McGregor. In the second fight, they gave it to McGregor on a majority decision. A lot of people feel Nate Diaz could have won that fight. I think the third one makes a ton of sense. We have to do it. For Tony Ferguson, he's in the shittiest of positions because I have no idea what to do with Tony. If we keep him at lightweight, because I don't know about him at welterweight. I don't know. Let's see. UFC rankings. Right now, ranked guys, do we give him somebody ranked? I mean, maybe Tony Ferguson, like a Bobby Green fight, maybe Dan Hooker, but that's 5 losses in a row. I kind of want to give him a tune-up type fight. I don't know if there's anybody that's ranked that I'd like to see Tony Ferguson fight. I think he struggles against majority of the guys. Like, he seems past his prime. He seems slowed. Nate Diaz had a good performance, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Nate, but Tony Ferguson didn't look good, guys. If that was Tony Ferguson and Leach, you're telling me Tony doesn't get cracked hard and maybe knocked the fuck out? Because he was getting hit hard by Nate Diaz. Tony Ferguson, I'm looking, who could he fight? I'm looking at unranked. Bobby Green's a fight. There's nobody else that really jumps out at the page to me. A Bobby Green fight for Tony Ferguson? Dan Hooker, maybe? I don't think you want to do the Rafael Dos Anjos rematch, but I mean, that could be the fight. I don't think so, though. I feel like if he's at welterweight, it's kind of even worse for him. Like, welterweight, these guys are going to be too big, too powerful. He was supposed to fight Leach. No way. Don't make that fight. Don't rebook it. I don't think there's a need for it. Maybe the loser of Robbie Lawler, Santiago Ponzinibbio next for Tony Ferguson. I could see that. I feel like that kind of makes sense. Brian Barberena maybe. But Barberena's on a win streak. Could be a Nico Price. Probably the loser of Lawler, Ponzinibbio. Maybe Robbie Lawler just straight out win or lose. If Tony's on a 5-fight losing streak and he's a huge name, he just fought in the main event, he's not going to get cut. I think the best move would be to retire, but he's not going to. There's a 0% chance he does. He said he's back. He's talking about he's back. T-Ferg legend, Nate Diaz legend. I hope they make a fuckload of money. And I hope they made a fuckload of money on this fight. And I think they'll make a fuckload more moving forward and more matchups. I mean, Tony Ferguson, definitely still a high-value guy to have around. He'll do at least one more. Nate Diaz is definitely doing more fights, and he is going to bank some cash because now he's a free agent. So the power is in his hands. I think the UFC would want to keep him around. He's a big star, and it's him, McGregor 3. Much love, my people. I hope you guys enjoyed this full fight reaction and breakdown. Smash the likes if you're new, subscribe, turn those post notifications on, and make sure to share the video as well. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you don't have anything to say, we just enjoy the content, drop a W in the chat. Let me know what you guys think about me bringing the full fight reactions along with doing the full card recap. I'll link that full card recap in the description for those that haven't seen it. Much love, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everyone.